Welcome to the gold standard, Making Millions with Malia, the place to be for conscious CEOs and light leaders who know that they have an enormous mission that requires millions to fuel it. I am your host, Jennifer Longmore, Clear Channel for Mother Malia, along with being a long-standing 8-figure CEO, investor, and board advisor who is committed to creating as many conscious millionaires as I can in this lifetime, and to debunk the broke healer paradigm that tells you it is not benevolent to make millions doing spirit-led work. We are in the midst of individual and collective ascension, and as we ascend, so must the way that we do business and money as light leaders. That is what this show is all about. So tune in now and find out why we are ranked in the top 5% of global podcasts and why savvy CEOs just like you binge our show each week and share it as a high-value resource with their communities. Now let's dive into today's Making Millions broadcast. Welcome back, everyone, to the gold standard, Making Millions with Mother Malia. As you know, I am your host, Mother Malia. I am glad that you have come back to this trauma series that we are doing to really support you in dissolving the trauma and having the insight about how the trauma is impacting your business right now, your cash flow, client attraction, and really anything in between. So today we're going to talk about how to turn the trauma response of fawning into gold. So fawning, interestingly, can help you get to a certain level, actually, because you are an expert at keeping people happy. You are an expert at reading people and saying, how do I need to shape-shift myself so that they can be happy with me? And so in business, of course, we like to keep our customers happy. We like to be in tune with what they need and, of course, delight them with a solution that will make them happy in addressing their needs. We are hyper attuned to keeping people happy at all expenses. And so let's backtrack for a moment. Fawning is often born out of severe abuse, being raised by someone that is either gaslighting you or someone that is a narcissist that makes you pay a high price if you are not making it all about them. A militant parent that is hypercritical. And so you learn to fawn. I don't know who I am being right now that is upsetting people. Either you learn that it is never meant to be about you, and so you can actually make a lot of money, as you've heard me share before, from mastering the art of making it about everyone else except for you. Except that, of course, eventually, when it is never about you, it takes a toll by way of massive adrenal fatigue and burnout and exhaustion, perhaps even to the point of getting sick, perhaps to the point where you feel like, oh, I've had enough of this. I just want to burn it all to the ground. And then, of course, if you have a militant parent, you say, I've got to keep people happy because I don't even know what it is I do that upsets people so much. All I'm doing is breathing. All I am doing is smiling. All I am doing is laughing. All I am doing is playing. All I am doing is asking a question. All I am doing is eating my dinner. All I am doing is sleeping. And my mere presence is such an annoyance for people. I literally don't know what I'm going to do next that is going to elicit such severe response from people. So I'm going to be hyper attentive to being in tune with people's very slight mood changes so I can keep them happy. Now, of course, when you hear that, you say, oh, goodness, yes, running a business from that place has got to be exhausting. And yes, it is. And you can also see how actually it can really help you make a lot of money in business. It can get you quite far until it doesn't, until it really starts to wear you down. Because you see, when you build a business from people pleasing, and I speak with people like this all of the time that have this pattern, they may have built a 7-figure business, but they usually are, I will use the word hate because that is the word they will use. I hate my business. I'm serving clients I don't want to serve. I have offers that I don't want to deliver anymore, but they make me money. I don't know how to pivot without losing a ton of recurring revenue, various things like that. And so people pleasing, of course, can help you build an amazing company, but it is usually a company that you don't want, either because you are serving clients that you no longer wish to serve, or perhaps never even wish to serve ever. Perhaps you have offers that are boring you, or You just feel like you've outgrown, but it feels like, what if I take this away? Who's going to be mad at me? Perhaps you keep team members on longer than serves you because you don't want anyone to be mad at you. Perhaps you don't even really delegate anything, and then you are still doing more work than you really should be doing because you don't want your team to be mad at you for asking them to do things for you. You don't want to be a burden. You don't want to for them to say that you are doing something to them by asking them to do the job that you are paying them to do. And so you can really find yourself quite fatigued in this. And then, of course, if you can't even keep the people happy in your world now, you will push and pull the client attraction because in your brain, on some level of consciousness, of course, you'll say, well, if I can't even keep these people happy with me and I don't even know how to, if I invite even more people in, that is just more people that are going to get mad at me. And of course, if you were severely abused, there's a high price to pay for not keeping people happy, right? We will judge people for feeling like, why are they so worried about being wrong? Well, if they were severely abused, if they got the silent treatment for a month, if they were made to sleep in a closet for 6 months or a cage, and I'm not going to give you all of the stories, but as you can imagine, I have seen and heard many, and perhaps someone has to punish them. There will be a lot of emotional abuse where maybe your favorite pet will be taken from you, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, you are hyper wired to avoid being wrong at all costs. And so the way you cope with that is to try and keep everyone happy. You'll find yourself saying yes to clients that you actually wish to say no to because you already know that they are going to be hard work or they are just simply non-ideal in some capacity. You will keep team members longer than serving the company or serving you because, again, you're afraid of them getting mad at you and telling everyone you're a terrible boss or whatever they might say. I could go on and on. Perhaps you will keep clients in containers longer than serves you, or perhaps you will grandfather in your clients into the same price year after year for, let's say, 10 years in a row, even though there's been inflation, even though you have invested heavily into your craft, such that it really does justify increased rates, etc. Because your fear of people being mad at you is so significant that it actually stands between you and your next level. And so, as I mentioned, it can actually help you build a seven-figure company. But after that, it is one of those things that simply is going to have to go if you're going to scale to 8 figures and beyond. So I hope in hearing this, when you hear some of the symptoms of how this plays out in your company, that you will shift out of any judgment or shame or blame you might have or guilt that you might have towards yourself or even others and replace it with compassion and say, of course, I was in self-preservation. Of course, I've been fawning. Of course, I've been saying yes when I wanted to say no. Of course, I've been undercharging even though it is draining me and I'm starting to get resentful. And now with this insight, you get to choose. You get to, perhaps you are feeling that you are capable of dissolving this yourself. Perhaps you are going to find a trusted advisor to do this with you. I always recommend finding someone that is very seasoned at being trauma informed. Sadly, as you know, there are a lot of, online certificates you can take by watching a 1 or 2 hour webinar, and that is considered enough to be trauma informed. It simply is not. And so whether it is with me or whether it is with someone else, I highly recommend that. It does not have to be arduous. I will share with you my processes that we're not about reliving the trauma. We are simply going to identify it and dissolve it. And then you will be able to hold it with neutrality. You will have the awareness of the trauma, but you will not feel a single sensation of it in your field. It will no longer elicit emotion. And any of the guarding and other protective mechanisms that you've brought in to protect yourself from further abuse, even though you might not have realized you were doing that, all dissolves, so that all of a sudden your programs can fill with ease and little to no marketing. All of a sudden, you're feeling much more safe and confident and charging the rates that you shall be. You feel safe turning people away. You feel safe having the boundary conversations with people. This is also another thing with the fawning response. You might know what your boundaries are, but you'll find that you're setting them over and over again because, of course, no fault of your own, just not solid enough in your boundaries. So people just don't take you seriously, unfortunately. It is not that that I wish that upon you. It is just simply that they're not able to honor the standard and they're not able to honor the boundary. So that is another symptom, by the way, of how that can play out. So if you're also listening to this saying, oh my goodness, yes, I feel like I am setting boundaries every day with the same people. Well, I can assure you that people pleasing is a trauma response, and constantly setting boundaries instead of being willing to fire people or really bringing down the velvet hammer, so to speak, and saying, listen, I will love to keep working with you. And here's the condition that I require in order for you to remain eligible to be in my spaces. We have to be willing to do that, not because we even have to. We just need to be willing to do that. And people need to feel the vibration of that from us. You see, I don't set boundaries with people because I hold the standard so strongly in my body that people respond to the frequency of the standard that is in my body unspoken. It is so rare that I have to set a boundary. And even if I do, it is from a place of neutrality. And I just simply say, hey, in the future, I will appreciate this. Are you willing to honor that? And almost 10 out of 10 people will say yes, of course. It is very rare that people say no, thank you. Because we all know what honor is, don't we? We all, without that having to be defined, we know what that is. And people are not trying to move through the world being dishonorable. They often are not realizing, that they are crossing a line, or of course, because they're bringing their own traumas that create codependency, that create enmeshment, that have them looking for a parent instead of a mentor, have them looking for a buddy or a sibling instead of a mentor, have them looking for a frenemy instead of a mentor. That is also the dynamic that comes in that, of course, creates the boundary setting in the first place. But when people feel the standard, they calibrate to the standard. They don't calibrate to the wobble, which is created by the wound. So I hope this serves to hear this. If you are ready to dissolve this trauma or really any past trauma, betrayal, resentment that is capping your income and capping your client attraction, please feel free to reach out to me on social media or at clientcare@souljourneys.ca. And we can start the conversation about what I do have available to support you in shifting this right now so you can finally be free and things can finally flow the way that they were always meant to. So I hope this served. I will love to hear any insights you have, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening. Before you go, if you would like to have a chance to have your name and business featured on the Gold Standard podcast, hop on over to where you listen to this podcast and leave a review. If you're selected, you'll have your name and business featured on our show. And in the meantime, we wish you tons of financial blessings, and we'll see you soon for the next Making Millions transmission from Mother Malia.